Before we begin, let me ask you something quietly. Have you ever held a small piece of sea glass in your hand? Not the sharp shard it once was, not the broken fragment it began as, but the smooth, cloudy jewel it eventually becomes. Soft to the touch, rounded by time, carried by tides. Sea glass is curious that way, because if you had seen that same piece of glass long ago, you may have thought it was ruined, a bottle broken, a window shattered, a fragment discarded, jagged edges, dangerous corners. Nothing beautiful about it. And yet, something remarkable happens when broken glass meets the ocean. The waves begin to do their quiet work. Over and over again, the water carries the glass across the sand and the stone, turning it, rolling it, softening it. Not all at once, but slowly, patiently. The ocean does not rush its work, and tonight's story is about something many people don't realize. The mind can be shaped in much the same way. Life gives us all these pieces, some of them smooth, some of them bright, and some of them jagged. Moments we didn't expect. Conversations that cut deeper than they should have. Loss, fear, embarrassment, heartbreak, memories that once felt too sharp to hold. And when those moments first happened, they can feel just like broken glass. Unfinished, unfair, uncomfortable to carry. Sometimes people even believe those pieces define them. They look at the fragment and say quietly to themselves, "Something in me must be broken." But the ocean would see that very differently. Because the ocean knows something about transformation. Imagine now, just for a moment, that your mind is like a quiet shoreline. A vast stretch of sand where the tide gently moves in and out. And scattered across that shoreline are pieces of sea glass. Each one representing something you've lived through. A memory, a lesson, a moment that shaped you. Some pieces are pale blue, some soft green, some amber, some clear like morning light. And if you walk slowly along that shoreline, you may notice something interesting. None of the glass is sharp anymore. Each piece has softened, each edge rounded, each fragment transformed by time and movement. Because the ocean never tries to erase the glass. It simply keeps moving around it. Wave after wave, moment after moment. And as you imagine the shoreline now, you might notice something about your breathing. It begins to follow the rhythm of the tide. Breathing in like the ocean slowly moving forward, and breathing out like the water gently pulling back. In and out. A quiet rhythm that has existed long before any of us arrived. And just like the ocean softens glass, time and awareness soften the experiences we carry. Think about a moment from long ago, something that once felt sharp, something that once felt difficult. Notice how different it feels now. Not because the moment disappeared, but because you moved through time, because your understanding changed, because the tides kept moving. That is the quiet wisdom of sea glass. It reminds us that transformation does not come from forcing. It comes from movement, from patience, from allowing life to keep flowing. The ocean does not argue with the glass. It does not demand that it change. It simply keeps returning, wave after wave. And the glass slowly becomes something new, something softened, something beautiful. And perhaps, as you continue listening, you may begin to realize something comforting. The pieces of your life are already changing, even the ones that felt sharp, even the memories you worried about. Because every day that you live, another tide passes through your mind. Another wave of understanding moves across your experience. And those experiences begin to smooth. They begin to soften. They begin to change shape. Until one day, you look back at something that once hurt, and you see the wisdom instead. You see growth. You see strength. Just like the person walking along the shoreline who bends down to pick up a piece of sea glass, holding it gently, turning it to the light, admiring its soft edges, its cloudy glow, its quiet beauty, without ever knowing the sharp fragment it once was. And perhaps the most beautiful truth about sea glass is, it becomes valuable not because it avoided the ocean, but because it traveled through it, because the waves shaped it, because time transformed it. And the same is quietly true for people. The experiences that shape us, the moments that once felt difficult, often become the very thing that softens us, the things that deepen our compassion, the things that teach us patience, the things that help us understand others. And so, as you imagine that shoreline again now, notice how peaceful it feels. The steady rhythm of the ocean, the gentle warmth of sand beneath your feet, the quiet sparkle of sea glass scattered across the shore. And perhaps you pick one piece up now in your mind, just one, holding it between your fingers, feeling its smooth edges, its cool surface, and realizing this piece of sea glass traveled a long way. It was shaped by storms, by tides, by movement, and yet here it is now, softened, beautiful, whole in its own way. And something inside you may begin to recognize that your life has been shaped in the same way. Every experience, every tide, every moment of learning has been slowly polishing the pieces of who you are, not breaking you, shaping you, softening you, refining you, until the person you are becoming carries the quiet beauty of sea glass, a beauty that can only exist after traveling through the ocean of life. So tonight, you don't need to fix anything. You don't need to rush your transformation. You don't need to understand every piece. you can simply allow the tides to continue their work, breathing in and breathing out, trusting the quiet rhythm of life and knowing that just like sea glass, the pieces of your story are already becoming something beautiful. And now, after hearing the story of the sea glass, after imagining those smooth pieces scattered across the quiet shoreline, there is another part of the story that many people never hear. Because when someone picks up a piece of sea glass, when they hold it in their hand and admire its softness, they are seeing the ending of a long journey. But very few people imagine what that journey actually felt like. What it was like for the glass before it became smooth, before it became something beautiful, before it found its resting place along the shore. So tonight, let your mind travel a little deeper into the ocean, not as an observer this time, but as something inside the water itself. Imagine, just for a moment, that long ago there was a piece of glass, sharp, angular, transparent and bright. It had once been a part of something larger, maybe a bottle, maybe a window, maybe something that once held meaning. And then one day, it broke. And when it broke, it fell down through the air until it landed in the ocean. At first, the glass resisted the water. It clung to its sharp edges. It remained rigid, hard, unchanged. But the ocean does not argue with what falls into it. The ocean simply moves, wave after wave, tide after tide. And so the glass began its quiet journey. Sometimes the tide carried it gently. Sometimes the waves were stronger, rolling it across the sand, brushing it against smooth stones, turning it, shifting it, moving it in ways it could never predict. And if the glass had a voice, perhaps at first it would have said, "Why is this happening to me? Why do the waves keep moving me? Why can't I stay still?" But the ocean never answered those questions, because the ocean was not trying to harm the glass. The ocean was shaping it, slowly, quietly, patiently. And something interesting began to happen over time. Each wave softened the edges just a little. Each movement across the sand smoothed the corners. Each tide carried the glass into a new position. Not in a single dramatic moment, but in thousands of tiny movements. Movements so small, they were almost invisible. And yet, day after day, the glass began to change. The sharp edges became rounded. The surface softened. The once clear glass turned slightly cloudy. And strangely, the more the glass was sharpened by the ocean, the more beautiful it became. Because sea glass does not shine like ordinary glass. It glows softly, quietly, as if it carries the memory of the ocean inside it. And this is where the story becomes personal. Because people often believe change must happen all at once. They think transformation requires a sudden realization. a dramatic breakthrough, a single moment where everything finally makes sense. But the ocean does not work that way, and neither does the mind. Real transformation happens the way sea glass is made, wave by wave, moment by moment, experience by experience, sometimes gently, sometimes unexpectedly, sometimes in ways we would never have chosen, but always moving, always shaping, always smoothing the places that once felt sharp. And as you listen now, you may begin to notice something interesting inside yourself, just like that piece of glass. Your life has been moving through tides, experiences, moments of growth, moments of challenge, moments that rolled you in directions you never expected. And perhaps there were times you wondered why it felt so unpredictable, why the waves kept moving, why things didn't stay the same. But now, with the quiet perspective of this story, you might begin to see something different. Each moment was shaping you. Each experience was softening something inside. Each challenge was rounding an edge that once felt sharp. Even the moments you never choose again may have been part of that shaping. And just like the sea glass, the beauty of who you are today did not come from avoiding the ocean. It came from traveling through it. So now imagine something else. Imagine that same piece of glass after many years. It is no longer deep in the ocean. The tide has slowly carried it closer to shore, and the waves are softer here, the water calmer, the sunlight brighter. And one day, a final wave lifts the glass gently onto the sand, where it rests, still, quiet, transformed. Later that day, someone walks along the beach. Perhaps a child. Perhaps someone searching for treasure. Their eyes scan the sand until suddenly they notice something small and beautiful. A smooth piece of sea glass glowing softly in the sunlight. They pick it up, turn it slowly between their fingers, and smile. Because to them, this piece of glass is not broken. It's not damaged. It is rare. It is special. It is something beautiful that the ocean created. And in that moment, the entire journey of the glass suddenly makes sense. Because the ocean never intended to destroy it. The ocean was revealing its beauty. And as this story settles gently in your mind tonight, you might begin to realize something deeply comforting. Your own journey is unfolding in the same quiet way. The waves of life are still moving, still shaping, still smoothing the piece of your story. And you do not need to control the ocean. You only need to allow yourself to move with the tides. Because transformation is already happening. Slowly, naturally, quietly, wave by wave, moment by moment, until one day, perhaps sooner than you expect, you will look back at the journey you traveled and see something that was invisible while you were inside it. You will see the soft edges, the quiet glow, the strength that came from being sharp, and you will realize, just like sea glass, You were never broken. You were being transformed. So here are the key meanings of the story. Number 1, transformation happens slowly. Sea glass is not created instantly. It becomes smooth through thousands of waves over time. Meaning, personal growth rarely happens through one breakthrough. Healing, emotional regulation, and identity change happens gradually through repeated experiences and reflection. Number 2, life challenges shape us, not just harm us. The waves that roll the glass across the sand and stone are what softens its edges, meaning difficult experiences, loss, mistakes, uncertainty, heartbreak often become the forces that develop emotional depth, resilience, and wisdom. The story reframes struggle as shaping rather than damaging. Number 3, we often misinterpret our own story. At the beginning, the glass believes something bad happened to it when it broke, meaning humans often interpret painful moments as evidence they are broken, when in reality, those moments may be part of a larger process of transformation. The story gently challenges this belief. Number 4, transformation does not require control. The ocean never tries to force the glass to change. It simply moves naturally. Meaning, growth does not always come from forcing change or constantly analyzing ourselves. Sometimes transformation happens when we allow life to move through us rather than resisting it. Number 5, time is a hidden healing force. The sea glass becomes beautiful because of time combined with movement, meaning healing and perspective often emerge as time passes. The nervous system, memories, and identity gradually reorganize when life continues moving forward. Number 6, what once felt broken can become beautiful. Sea glass begins as a discarded fragment but ends up as something treasured. Meaning, parts of our past that once caused pain can later become sources of wisdom, compassion, empathy, and strength. The story reframes perceived flaws as unique beauty shaped by experience. Number 7, your journey is still unfolding. The story ends with the glass finally reaching shore, meaning listeners are reminded that their transformation may still be in progress. Just because something feels unfinished does not mean the process isn't working. The tides are still shaping them. Number 8, identity is found through experience. The glass does not lose its essence, it simply changes form. Meaning, people do not lose who they are during transformation. Instead, life refines and reveals deeper aspects of their identity. Number 9, perspective changes everything. The person who finds the sea glass sees it as treasure, not damage. Meaning, the meaning of our life experiences often change when viewed from a different perspective or stage of life. And number 10, beauty comes from the journey. Sea glass is valuable because it traveled through the ocean. Meaning, the most meaningful parts of who we become often come from the very essence we once wished had never happened. So, as the story begins to settle quietly in your mind, like sea glass resting gently along the shoreline, you might notice something inside you becoming just a little softer, a little calmer, a little more trusting of the journey you're on. Because just like the ocean shapes the glass, life is always shaping us too, wave by wave, moment by moment. And if this story touches something inside you tonight, if you enjoy these journeys into the mind and the quiet metaphors that help us see ourselves differently, I'd love for you to become part of this growing space. So take a moment now and subscribe to the channel so you can continue exploring these hypnotic stories for reflection, healing, and change. And if you ever feel called to go even deeper, if there's a challenge you're facing, a transformation you want to create, or a story that feels like it was meant just for you, I also create personalized hypnotic stories designed specifically for your life and your goals. You can simply email me at rhondashypnoticstories@gmail.com, and together we can create a story that speaks directly to your journey. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, trust the tides that are shaping you, and remember, sometimes the most beautiful parts of who we become are the pieces of life that have slowly turned into sea glass.